Welcome, Dave, and congratulations again for season 16 champion.
Thank you.
That was the best season of all time, 12-1-0. That's better than Classic Jurassic's undefeated 6-1-0 in season 7. It's better than Quad Damage's 11-3-0 in season 15. It's also better than the previous best season of all time when the Amazon Primes went 12-0-1. So you're right at the top now.
Yeah, I mean it's very cool. Very pleased, obviously. Still, it seemed a bit churlish, but still extremely disappointed in my draw against the Primes. Not just for trying to get the perfect season, but it just seemed like again it was a glorious opportunity to actually finally get that win against you, which is still eluding me.
Yeah, let's keep it that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's become its own thing at this point. And I mean, you'll remember. I mean, I was pretty lucky to come away with the draw in the end.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I failed a sure feat going for it on the touchdown line to
Yeah.
win the game. Although there were other bits of luck that you didn't have go your way that game too, but still. You sit atop a mountain of statistics looking down. If you could tell the Dave that never had a winning record for his first 5 seasons one piece of advice, what would it be?
No, that's a really tough question. One piece of advice. I mean, I'd probably kind of personally, and I don't necessarily think that I'd play like this, but I'd probably tell them to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
I think that it's something that a lot of the coaches actually in our league do, who are very good, but sometimes you can kind of create a bit of your own luck, can't you, by exploiting kind of situations and
Yeah.
creating situations by putting the other team under pressure. And I think that's something that's taken me quite a long time to do more of. I think I'm still quite a defensive player, to be fair, but I was much more cautious when I started playing 11. I mean, plus just having played more, so
Yeah.
got better at positioning and things like that. And it's fair to say that this team is better as well. But I'm definitely a better coach than I was when I joined the league.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's night and day. But then that's true of a lot of coaches. It's just you've managed it. You've got to the top.
Yeah.
You don't attribute it to having kids then.
No.
That's always been my theory because both you and Greg had kids and then absolutely turned it around and
Oh, really?
became much better coaches.
Right. That's interesting. Well, we'll see with James, won't we?
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say congratulations to James, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you know?
If he now absolutely crashes and burns, we'll know that the theory is incorrect.
Yeah. Well, the parent coaches finished first, second, and fourth this season. So
Yeah.
do you think, we've touched on it, but do you think there's any correlation between virility and success at Blood Bowl?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't argue with statistics sometimes.
I am third in that list though, so I'm not quite sure what that says for me. Maybe it's coming soon. After looking at that statistic, I then looked at it a bit longer and thought, that's true, but it's also both just a list of the oldest coaches in the league. So the 5 oldest coaches are the top 5.
Right. So maybe it's just maybe that's all it is then.
The wisdom of old age. The last time Mental Disintegration lost was in the second round of the Halloumi Bowl 14 a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And they lost to my Elven Union, the Tsunami Army.
Yeah.
In fact, Mental Disintegration have gone 25-5-1 over that period of time. They're truly dominant. Given that your Nurgle have only lost or drawn to me in the last 2 years, you must be fairly happy with your placement within the bowl bracket.
I am very happy with my placement within the vault. Yes, that was the first thing I looked at. So yeah, I mean, like everyone else, probably, or most players wouldn't have minded by, but I can't complain too much about the way the brackets ended up. I think um, I was looking at it. I think the only of the teams that are in my half of the bracket, the only team that gave me difficulty during the league was Dan.
Yeah.
And his Amazons. I mean, anything can happen, obviously, but I don't think that like Zaz isn't an awful draw for me.
No.
Nor Zalido and that kind of thing. Again, if things go the way the league did, I mean, they can always roll really well, and you can always lose loads of players. I mean, I don't want to kind of go too far off topic, but I played a tabletop game with Korn against Shambling Undead a few days ago, and I had 5 injuries in the first 2 turns that put me down to 6 players for the rest of
Right.
the game because he just broke armor and rolled 10 or more on every single block for the first 2 turns.
Oh,
So
it's
that can
like,
happen. It's Blood Bowl, but
yeah,
um,
it's like my league game this season against Az.
yeah. Um, but having kind of most of the really good kind of more agility trickier teams for me to deal with on the other half of the brackets,
Yeah.
a relief.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, it'd be nice to just get more than a couple of wins. I mean, my bowl record is pretty terrible with every team. And that one last year was again not last year, year before last was particularly irritating because again I've done really well in the league,
Yeah.
and then um, I'm pretty sure that was that game where you had like 2 or 3 players, and I'd constructed an enormous cage that you leapt into while I was stalling, and you leapt into the cage, knocked the ball out, scattered off my players out of the cage, then you picked up, threw it down the other end, and won.
It sounds about right, but I don't really
Yeah,
remember, if I'm honest.
no, well, I do. Funnily enough,
Right. Yeah.
I'd made a cage blocking off every single square around around the ball carrier. So you had it. So there was like 5 tackle zones or something to leap into. But of course, once you did get the ball loose, it could only bounce onto like agility 1 and 2 players. So it was always going to get back out of the cage. I didn't really think about it properly, but
It's funny.
um,
I only really remember the losses of all my games. I felt quite bad about finishing third this league, and I had to remind myself that I won the last league. It doesn't feel like I won the
yeah,
last league at all. It feels ages ago since I won something,
was it?
but I was the most recent coach. It's crazy. You touched on it a bit there with in person. Of all the members of Southampton Scrubs, you play the most in person tournaments.
Mhm.
Do you see any differences in your play style when you're playing not virtually?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I'm quite slow on on tabletop, to be fair, because I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, the kind of time that I've spent and the experience playing with you guys has definitely helped with the tabletop stuff.
mm,
Um, I'm kind of all right. Um, the tournaments, both tournaments I had have been pretty good, and I think again, what I was saying about some of the kind of put the other coach under pressure and being a bit aggressive and things like that has worked most of the time when I've done it kind of tabletop wise as well. Um, I mean, I've only really played 2 teams in tabletop. I've played a bunch of Corn now, and I've played 1 game with Lizards. So um, maybe it's a bit
yeah,
to say that, but and obviously the game's a little bit, well, I suppose a little bit different from most of what we're playing with Blood Bowl 2.
yeah.
Um,
Sure, different rule set, isn't it?
yeah,
The rerolls
but
make
no,
quite a big difference to the playstyle, I find. The just ability to go for a crazier play that isn't
yes,
quite so crazy anymore.
yes, exactly that. Yeah, um, it is really important, and it's you've got to. I think it's not so much kind of the ability for you to make crazy plays as well. It's um, needing to get your head around, and this is what we've all been finding with Blood Bowl 3, getting your head around what you can expect your opponent to do as well,
Yeah,
and not be in that, because I'm often in that mentality of like trying to in Bubble 2 trying to force a mistake or force using a reroll, and then you're thinking, oh great, now they're kind of in trouble, but it's not really like that anymore. at least not until they've all been expended.
Indeed, indeed. Um, one of the, let's say, holy grail achievements in our league is a perfect season, only wins. So this is a two-part question. One, how disappointed were you by our match that stopped that achievement this season? And
Yeah.
two, can you think of any other holy grail achievements in our league that have yet to be accomplished?
Well, yes, as I've already kind of said, I was pretty crushed. It wasn't so. I'll be honest. It wasn't. I was more disappointed by not managing to get a win against you than I was about getting the unbeaten season thing. I know what it was. Like,
Right. Okay.
I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased with kind of having the best season. I didn't necessarily. There's a little bit like I didn't necessarily feel like I'd fully deserved it, if that makes sense. Because I know from the outside, and that's what I've said to people, a few people, it looks like it was kind of fairly dominant. It didn't feel like that during a lot of the season. There was a lot of really close games, like both the rookie Amazon games. So Dan and Rob, both of them I won 1-0, and I only scored on their offense.
Yeah.
So they stopped me both times. I only beat. I was again a failed go for it on a loner player away from losing to Greg, which he took a second go for it with his star player. Failed the loner roll, and then I scored and won 2-1 instead of losing 2-1.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I just completely wiped the floor with everyone. I mean, there were a few games that were extremely one-sided, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like it was just kind of steamrolling everyone. So in a way, I felt better about this win than I did the one a couple of years ago, because that one also felt like a lot. It was quite. It was really tight. There were quite a few people kind of were off their game that season as well. So this one feels like a better win, but I mean, it didn't really feel like it would have been deserved. It have been completely perfect, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
In terms of the other things, I mean, there's a few things which seem like equally unlikely, like someone going a season without conceding.
A single touchdown. Yeah,
I
that'd be
mean, that's
brutal.
theoretically possible, but
I
that'd
mean,
be amazing.
both of us are the two that have come closest. We've both conceded only 4 touchdowns
Yeah.
in the
So,
season with 13 matches in it.
so it's doable in theory.
Yeah, tough as hell though. Like you,
Yeah.
especially as part of the play style of Blood Bowl is to sort of allow a touchdown
Allow a
sometimes.
score.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and but that's probably the other kind of, other than a perfect season, that's probably the thing that leaps out to me.
And beating me,
I
of
mean,
course, for you.
there's going to be other ones, but none of the other things are absolute, like a certain amount of casualties or injuries and things like that.
Yeah.
Scoring a certain amount of touchdowns or a certain touchdown difference. I mean, it's hard to kind of define what the Holy Grail is for those things. But yeah, 0 TDs conceded and 100% record.
Yeah, you're right. That would, in some ways, only conceding 4 means we're not far off of having done it. But I feel like there's a world between, there's a massive gap between having
It
got
feels
0
like
and 4.
every incremental improvement beyond that is so much harder.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a huge gap between 4 and none across like 13 games as well.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you for coming along to this, and
No
congratulations
worries.
again.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good luck in the bowl.
Yeah, you too. Hopefully, someone knocks you out before the final.
I would love absolutely nothing more than seeing you in the final.
I bet you
That would be so cathartic.
All right.
For
Cheers,
both
Will.
of us, right? Like if you were beating
Well,
me, that
yeah.
would
Well,
make you the happiest too.
it would for one.
All right.
I mean,
Cheers,
that was
Dave.
actually a question. Actually, I'll go quickly. Just
Sure.
maybe it's that wise, but actually, have we had kind of dual league and bowl winners before?
Yes, we have. I want to say Rob won both.
I had it in my head that Rob might have done it. Yeah.
Let me just have a quick look. Yes, it was Rob's Wood Elves in season 13, Looney Tunes
Right.
squad.
Yeah.
That was the first time that ever happened.
So that's not a thing. Great, no pressure.
No, though, this team of yours, Mental Disintegration, have got every chance of doing that again.
Yeah, possibly. Like it's going to be a lot. I'm going to be reliant to a certain extent on matchup. See what happens in the other bracket.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
Cool.
see. Got to get past SAS first. Right. Cheers, Will.
Yeah, cheers, Dave. Thanks for that.
Later. Bye.
Bye.